You own a small business, and it ain't easy, and it may be going okay. Or you could be stuck and barely making ends meet. It's about time for a pivot. Welcome to Small Business Pivots. It's time for you to generate some cash, some real cash. How does $1 million sound? Only 9% of small businesses earn over $1 million annually. But your host is a business coach and an entrepreneur. And we're going to talk to the small business owners who've done the $1 million and more. It's time to be inspired. Welcome to the 7-Figure Club. This is Small Business Pivots. And now your host, Michael Morrison.
All right, so we have a special guest on today from New York, and I'm going to ask you a very special question. If you were to describe your life today in a tweet, what would that be?
Oh my gosh, I'm not a tweeter either, Michael.
I'm not either.
Twitter is probably the one platform that I'm not on, and I don't understand it. But if I had to describe my life today in a tweet, the best is yet to come. I'm just getting started. I feel so incredibly empowered and just really inspired for my future. You and I spoke earlier this week, or probably last week now. I'm losing track of the days, but I'm a huge visionary, and I'm always looking at the hero who is me 10 years from now. Like, what can I possibly create? What can I do next? What else is out there for me to unleash?
Wow, that's incredible. You don't hear that very often for people our age. It's usually like they're kind of winding down, like, what do I want to do with the last of my life? That kind of thing. But I love that response. That's exciting. So you are Mary Kay. You are from New York.
Yes.
And you're saying that life just got started. So we're kind of midlife. So there's a lot of life.
Back nine, right? It's the back nine.
There's a lot of life that started before this life that is just now getting started. So the purpose of our podcast is it's called Small Business Pivots. And there's a lot of pivots that as entrepreneurs that we've had to face, obstacles. We've, pivoted, zigzagged along the way. And I found that a lot of business owners can relate to other business owners that have a story. And so I'm sure that because life is just now starting for you, there were some things in your past that helped you get where you are today that make you feel that way. So what was your childhood like? What growing up? Did you have siblings?
Yes, I did. I was the youngest of 3, 2 older brothers. So the only little girl, and definitely was treated like that little princess by my dad, and always called baby girl and all of that. But I would say, my childhood was in essence a beautiful childhood. However, there was a lot of sort of tragedy in my family. My dad was very sick. When I was 2 years old, he suffered his very first heart attack, which he did almost die from. They were able to revive him, but he had major heart issues all his life, 3 triple bypass surgeries. Later in his life, when I was probably about 9 or 10 years old, he came down with a very severe depression, which, in the 80s, if you remember, mental health was not something that was mainstream. It was not something that we really talked about. So my childhood quickly sort of shifted into a lot of secrecy, if that makes sense. Like, there was a lot of everything's fine, we're good. There was a lot of throwing things under the rug as to what was really going on in my home. And, in hindsight, obviously, my mom was trying to protect me and my brothers and, make it seem like everything was fine when really the world was kind of falling down around her. He was institutionalized, my dad. I think I was in about 6th grade at the time, which is, for a young girl, a really sort of pivotal moment in your childhood, right? Yeah. My mom then had to quickly find work and I just remember a lot of my childhood being alone. I was alone a lot. And really just confused. And so I kind of grew up with this sort of sense of abandonment a bit. And also just not really knowing who I was. I call it now like a default life, right? Like I was living to just survive and never really was given the tools on, you know, finding who you were and going out there and failing like as a kid. You know what I mean? Like I was just always protected from anything that was dark or difficult or challenging. I remember being put into dance and I was not a dancer. Let's just face it. I had 2 left feet, but the minute it got tough, my mom would just take me out. Oh, this isn't for you. Try tennis. Oh, this isn't for you. So the messaging kind of became, maybe I don't have anything, right? Maybe I don't have anything to offer. Maybe I'm just supposed to sit in the corner, be seen, not heard, wear beige, meld in with the wallpaper, which was also very much the messaging. And also, I think a lot of your listeners might be able to relate to this as a 70s baby, right? This sort of culture of being raised back then was, if you are finding your voice, if you are using your voice, you're being arrogant or selfish in some way. You know what I mean? Like, nobody cares what you have to say. It's about everyone else. Worry about everyone else. And I also kind of was raised with, if you want an inspired future or if whatever life you want, find the man that's going to give that to you. So as you can imagine, growing up like this and not really feeling like I belong anywhere, it was just very confusing. So I just did what others expected of me. So it just became a very default life of, this is what's expected of me. My 20s, okay, I'm supposed to meet somebody. Oh, and by the time I'm 30, if I'm not married, well, what does that mean?
Right.
And so everything just kind of became, what's the word I'm looking for? Just very survival.
Status quo kind of, back there in those days, that was, you grew up, you went to college, you got married, you had kids, you bought a house.
Yes.
There's the typical steps in life that you took. And if you didn't, you were kind of an outcast, if you will.
Yeah. And that husband better look like this on paper,
Right.
Better be a certain height, better have a certain status, better, be a doctor or a lawyer or what, I mean, it's just, there was just very much, it was fed to me, and so there was no sense of self is really the best way to describe the way I was living at the time. And I didn't really know what I was looking for in a partner. And, I just was like, oh, I think I should have 3 kids because I grew up with 3 kids. There just was not much thought to my life. And I just remember being very void of joy, being void of any excitement for the future. I never grew up with words like empowerment or dream or, what do you want to be? And do you dream of, your wedding day? It just wasn't conversation like that in my home. So, to really, and I think most people can really relate to this as well, Michael, is that when you're in it, it's normalized.
Right.
It's very normalized. So I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think, not, and bad's not really the right word, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. I didn't think that I was living this default life. I didn't think that I was as void of joy as I now know I was. I kind of just thought, wow, everything is nice. There's a roof over my head and I've got clothes on my back and I can put food on my table. And so you just kind of just go with the flow, I guess. And I was working on Wall Street and just, you just know when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You know,
What were you doing on Wall Street?
I worked I worked at many, many different investment banks through my career. I was on the street for 12 years. And, back then there was a lot of moving around, right? Like one desk would want you and then another desk would want you. And there was a lot of moving around when I'm talking like the mid 90s. I eventually ended up at JP Morgan Chase in New York City and on their high yield sales and trading desk, which was an amazing experience. I still am so close friends with so many people that I worked for on that desk. And I was what they call like a junior salesperson. And just, it's just the grind. It's like you show up at the desk at 7, you do what you have to do, and you get home and you do it all over again the next day. But I was always searching for myself. And I do remember very much just wanting to get married, because then maybe I can just quit this job and just, go do that.
Yeah.
There's just no sense of excitement around who I am, what I could be, the impact I could have on this world. What is your purpose? That, I don't know, wear beige and meld in with the wallpaper, and just don't do anything stupid. So, my tragedy struck my family again on September 11th of 2001. My brother was in the Trade Center.
Oh, no.
He was on the 89th floor of the South Tower, and he lost his life. And I'm sorry, over 20 years later, it's still like so hard to talk about. But my brother was my best friend. He was everything to me. He was an incredible just leader in life. And my worth at this point, and I was 27 years old when my brother was taken from me, but my worth at that point, my self-worth, was wrapped up in being his sister, if that makes any sense. Being Michael Duffy's sister made me feel worthy to be on this planet. So for me, there was no self-worth internally. Everything was about what was external of me and how can I get people to see me, honor me? How can they think I'm significant? And I never thought that I had anything to offer. It was, well, I'm Michael Duffy's sister, and he's this amazing person that everyone loves and wants to be around. And maybe people will want to be around me too, if that makes any sense at all. So my entire worth of being worthy to be lovable was wrapped up in, as long as I'm Michael Duffy's sister.
Mm-hmm.
And, him being ripped out of my life so instantly and tragically, it's something that takes many, many years to, the grieving never ends, but to even make sense of it, to even start to digest it, to even start to acknowledge it. It took me about 10 years, which was right before my 40th birthday. And I started to really question, either I'm going to keep living this default life, or I'm going to start to really take a look at this and pivot, as you say, and then that comes with its own set of challenges and fears. And because if anybody out there understands, like when you get that intuitive sort of irk inside you that maybe there's something more, maybe there's something else out there for me, the first instinct, I think, as a human being is to push it away.
Yeah.
And go to that place of me. No, I'm good, because it's comfortable and it's easy. And, but the irk never left me. And I now sort of identify that as my brother trying to, say to me, like, you got to go find what it is that you're here to do. And it's big and it's important. And I, if anybody really believes in sort of those voices from the universe, and those higher powers. And I started really embracing a spiritual path at that point, to really seek some clarity, because none of us know how we're going to do anything, right? But my mantra quickly became, and I believe my brother sort of placed this mantra on my heart, but it became, it's not in the how, it's in the allow. I just kept saying that over and over, like, it's not in the how, it's in the allow. It's not in the how, it's in the allow. Like, it, you know, and at this point in my life, I was married with 3 children. My youngest was 2 years old. And I was in a very unhappy, loveless, toxic marriage. I mean, there's just no other way to put that. And we were both to blame. We were both, you know, 2 people that found each other that just didn't know who they were. And at that point, it was now, you know, 12 years into the marriage, and it had to be looked at. Like, it for me personally, it had to be looked at. There was addiction going on. There was just a lot of things that that I was putting a blanket over my head about, and just saying, well, this is as good as it gets, and this is what I signed up for, and all of that. And I hope now I can be that example for people that says, you don't have to settle for the status quo. You know, you don't have to settle for mediocrity, you know? And so I started going on that spiritual path of asking questions and just saying, okay, it's not in the how, it's in the allow, but give me some clarity around this. You know, bring me clarity. And it came pretty quickly. I mean, I think, you know, once you start to really be open to receiving, it's amazing what starts to show up, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's why I really call the company that I'm working with now a love story, because it really is one of my love stories of my life, because it started surprisingly with my mother meeting a gentleman after my dad had passed in 2002, which was unfortunately 4 months after my brother was killed. I lost my father. And my mom was, you know, single for 10 years after losing my dad, but met this amazing man when she was 67 years old. Long story short, their love story led me to meet my now stepfather's daughter, who is one of the co-CEOs of the company that I'm with. And she had this brainchild to start the company Lime Life by Alcone. And she asked me if I would help her and, you know, be the very first, what we call now, beauty guide for the company, and help her to sort of build out her vision. And, you know, at the time, I saw nothing in myself. I mean, I was looking at this woman whom I'd admired so much and had this incredible love and respect for. And I'm thinking, what does she see in me?
Yeah.
Like, I can't do this. What is she talking about? Help her start a beauty brand. And I was somebody who, you know, never thought she was pretty. And I'm thinking, beauty and me and what? No, you know, there's no way. Like, what does this woman thinking, you know? And so all the fear flew in, and all the worry and all the judgments and all the, you know, who the heck do I think I am? There's no way I could do what she's asking me to do. But she started to use words like, but it's not really about makeup and skincare, Mary Kay. It's about empowering women. It's about giving women a safe space to unlock their greatness. It's about, you know, really offering a freedom home-based business to women, and helping them to really find their most inspired future. Now, this was language that was never
All right.
to me before. And so through the spiritual journey that I was on at that point, it hit me like a crazy, you know, sort of tsunami of, I don't know how I'm going to freaking do this, but I can't say no. I can't say no. And I wanted to say no, but every time I said no, my brother Michael would in some way get a message to me like, are you kidding me? I had your mom meet Vince, and now you've met her, and you cannot say no to this, because this is the stepping stone. This is the path. This is the journey that is going to help you continue to unlock your greatness and unleash your identity and continue to find that support system, because if there's one thing I know for sure, if you don't believe in yourself, find somebody who believes in you first, right?
Amen.
Right. And I was so blessed to have had Michelle, is her name, come into my life at that point. And, you know, my stepfather was also such an incredible inspiration to me, and such an incredible man who saw the beauty in me, who saw the potential in me that I, once again, never ever felt, and was never sort of given that mentor in my life, you know? And my stepdad, was an incredible businessman for so many years, entrepreneurial, and ran and started many very successful businesses. And so he said, oh yes, like, Michelle needs you, you need Michelle. This is the pair. And so we were the blind leading the blind. We really didn't know what we were doing, but we brought, you know, professional makeup to everyday women and all natural skincare, and built the company to over $120 million in less than 4 years.
Wow. Were you, was your spiritual journey kind of at the same pace as this rediscovering of yourself?
It really was, Michael. And anybody who's on a spiritual journey knows that you know, you fall off course sometimes, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And then you get back on and you realize, gosh, I missed this, you know, and that's been my story even today. You know, there's some times where I'm really more obedient to it than not. And when I'm obedient to it is really when the peace just fills my being, you know. And that is been the secret. You know, people ask me all the time, what's the secret to your success? And honestly, the secret is just knowing that if you want to have it all, you already have it all, you know, and just really being so sort of grounded and full body trust of you're loved, you know, and you are enough, and you are meant for greatness, and you are wonderfully and fearlessly made, you know, by our Heavenly Father. And so that is been the for sure the cornerstone of my business, and why I've been able to create such, I believe, you know, a strong foundation, and a sustainable business that, you know, not many people leave me when they join me. I mean, my sort of 12 frontline, we call them frontline leaders, but the women that make up, you know, my overall organization, which is, gosh, over 15,000 men and women now, worldwide. We're open in 9 different markets with my business. But they don't leave me there. You know, we're so grounded in a bigger, higher self, you know, and a higher purpose and a higher person, you know. And so that has been the basis of my success for sure. And it wasn't a straight line. There were, so as you talk about pivots in small business, you know, we have to know when to pivot. And that also has been just divinely guided. Sometimes the pivots are ones you don't ask for, but if you live in a space where everything is happening for the higher and better good of all, you just ride the wave out, you know. There's always going to be tough times. This world will 1000% bring you to your knees. But if you get yourself back up, it always brings you back to love.
I want to talk about the pivots, because for most business owners that I've talked to, it really wasn't business related. It was more either spiritual or mindset or a traumatic event in their life. And so I haven't had anyone on yet that really spoke of spirituality or God being part of that pivot. So can you kind of explain for those that may not have experienced anything like that? I know a lot of people question, well, so you just believe in God, so all these good things happen to you? You know, why do bad things happen? You know, they question a lot of that, when those of us who are believers, I guess I'll rephrase this a little bit. In one of the Sunday school classes that I was in, the question was asked, when you became a believer, did things change in your life, like trials, tribulations, and things? And my response was, I don't know that any of those went away because I still had them, but I found this sense of peace, this sense of hope, this sense of direction. What can I learn from? I mean, there was just my inner being felt completely different when I experienced some trials and tribulations versus when I wasn't quite close to God. And so, can you expand on that a little bit, just so people have a better understanding that may not know what we're talking about?
Oh gosh. Okay. Sometimes it's so hard to put into words, isn't it? But
Yes.
I'm going to do my best. And, as human beings, we have a need to control,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's just natural that we want to control things. But so much is out of our control.
Right.
Uh, and so I found that surrendering that control
Mm.
has just been essential, really. Because if I especially as an entrepreneur, you know you I don't know when someone's going to want to join my team. I don't know when somebody wants to buy a lip gloss from me.
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm going to meet, somebody. But that's where the surrender comes, and that's where, when you are on your most purposeful aligned path,
Mm.
you just have this unwavering trust that what is meant for me will be mine. It might not be in my time, it might not be on my timeline,
Yeah.
but I think that's, and listen, this is what we read in the Bible, right? I mean, there's so many passages about this kind of conversation. Sorry, my lights are, see that might be, that might be
Yeah.
there saying
Yeah.
yes.
That's awesome.
But if you just, it's a trust. It's
Mhm.
100% a trust in something bigger and greater than you.
Yeah.
And if we look at the beauty of the world, for those of us who have children, if we look at our children, if we look at, you know, how can we not believe that there's something bigger and greater and more
Mhm.
powerful than us?
Yeah.
It kind of becomes impossible to not believe, really.
Mhm.
And I know I'm biased because I know the power of the spiritual journey. And listen, for us, it's God, right? But for
Mhm.
others, it might be something different.
Yeah.
And that's fine too. It's just a matter of really understanding that the trials and tribulations will come,
Mhm.
but it's a lot easier when you can give that sort of anxiety, pain, stress, whatever it's causing you, and say, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. You know, one of the biggest, greatest, obviously, losses in my life is my brother passing, right?
Mhm.
And I remember at his funeral, one of my really good friends from high school coming up to me and saying, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And everybody's so tragically connected to the event and all that. And I remember looking at her and saying, I would have rather have had my brother for 29 years than to have never had him at all.
Mm.
So it's and I honestly, Michael, don't even know where that kind of, where the 27-year-old MK was able to even speak like that.
Yeah.
But what it reminds me of is that we have a choice to look at every situation in our lives. We get to choose how the perspective and the lens that we're going to look at that through. Right. And
Mhm.
that's what my spiritual journey and my mindset journey has really helped me with, is to really recognize that in any moment I have a choice to look at what is happening and be able to have a certain perspective around it. Um, and that has just given me, I mean, if I were to wake up tomorrow and somebody told me that Lime Life is closing,
Mm.
yeah, that's going to be a tough day, right? Like,
Right.
that's going to be a tough day. But surrendering it and knowing that there is this higher power that has got me,
Mhm.
and that I am protected and divinely, loved by, that there isn't anything that if I believe I can do it, I can do it, and
Yeah.
it's going to be a struggle, but I don't see how anybody can do, especially an entrepreneurial life, without understanding that there's so much surrender that has to happen. And who do you surrender that to?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know where I would be without my spirituality,
Yeah.
honestly.
Did you grow up in a church home
I
at
did.
all? Oh,
I
okay.
grew up Roman Catholic, which, is very different than Christianity, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Um, Organized church is not somewhere where I find peace. Um, so going to like a Roman Catholic church on a Sunday and doing mass, as we
Hmm.
call it, is not really, a place where I find God, or, I find peace, although I do it, and all of those things. But it's more just, being in the word and really having a relationship every single day. And for me, that's gratitude. I start my day every day with just immense gratitude. Everything around me, my home, it's not my home. I'm I'm lucky enough to live in it and be a steward of this home for as long as
Yeah.
I'm supposed to. I trust so much in everything. And as a single mom, I'm so grateful for my spiritual journey. And my company has really helped me with that as well. Um, we're not a Christian company, but a lot of my teammates and we have Bible studies together, and
Wow.
we do so many amazing things, which, just keeps us grounded. It really just, and I think that's essential to an entrepreneurial life, is to be grounded, know that everything you have, you already possess, and need everything you need, you already have. And your job is to just stay the course and keep moving forward and keep taking those uncomfortable actions.
Mm.
Like even getting on with you today, I was like, wow, I'm still uncomfortable at this sometimes. And I've been a guest, on many podcasts, but every day we have to step out of our comfort zone and see what shows up. And people are the basis of really the world for me. I mean, human beings are meant to be in relationship with each other. And so many times we fight and we have, all these negative jealousy or whatever you want to call it, but we're so much more alike than we even realize. And so I'm always just thirsty for meeting more people and saying, who else can I meet today? Who's out there? Who's going to be somebody that we can make magic together,
Yeah.
And that's also something that my spirituality has taught me, is that what you seek is seeking you, and just keep walking towards it. You don't even, sometimes it looks even more beautiful than your mind's eye can even imagine, right?
Hmm. Yeah. So you mentioned surrender, and that's a fantastic word uh, about the journey. And it sounds like that's kind of a word that you've used when you pivot. You kind of set back. And so would you say that's kind of
1,000%.
descriptive of your pivots in life?
1,000%. And also, just once you do surrender and you make that pivot, saying, okay, what do I have to learn now?
Mm.
Right? Because there's two ways that you can look at a moment of pivot. And you can look at it as, I'm broken, woe is me, why is this happening to me? I'm the only one who makes this mistake.
Yeah.
Because that's a real truth for a lot of human beings. I mean, we can look at that in relationships, we can look at that in business. Why do I keep picking the wrong person, or why do I keep doing the wrong things, why do I
Yeah.
keep making these mistakes? Or so we can look at it as, we're broken, and then where's that going to take us? Down a rabbit hole, right?
Right.
Like, that's not pretty.
Right.
And once, you're only human, like we all, none of us are perfect, and we all think we're in this bubble of, messing up, and that
Hmm.
nobody else out there must do this, right? But, or we can look at it as, okay, what's the learning lesson? What do I have to learn in order to elevate me to the next level. We don't grow in times of comfort. We don't grow in the good times. We grow in the challenging times, because that's the only way we can figure out what we're truly made of, and pull that layer again and say, okay, what else is in there?
Yeah.
What else am I able to do? Some of the biggest mistakes have been blessings in disguise in my business, and I believe that's all, once again, about perspective, and just saying, okay, what do I have to learn? And then it does propel me to that greater, bigger, more elevated space.
Would you say that adaptability would be similar to surrender?
I guess so. Adapting to something, though, makes me feel as if it's saying that you just accept it. And I don't know if that's, I think people really need to listen to their gut a lot. And to me, saying that you adapt to something is maybe accepting what's going on in your environment when maybe it's not feeling right. It's not feeling good. And I don't know if that's what you mean by that word, but that's what it sort of feels and means to me. Like, puts me back in that people pleasing,
Yeah.
I'm just going to adapt to this because I want to be liked, or I want to be, accepted in this moment.
I think it's one of those words that kind of has a double meaning. I know it's kind of been a buzzword lately with the crowd that I'm with on LinkedIn. And the way that it's being used is being open. Like, because you mentioned before, it's like we get stuck in our own ways. We think that this is all I am, this is all I have to offer, or I'm going to start this business and I'm going to do it my way. And so the way the adaptability is being used is you got to be open to other ways, like suggestions. And, like you were talking about your brother, like, would my brother really want me just sitting here? You didn't say it just like that, but I think that's what you were referring to, was like, hey, I'm giving you this opportunity, be open to it, be adaptable to life, is kind of how it's
open to it. Yes. Be open to it, and then trust the process, right?
Yes.
Like, marry the process, divorce the results.
There you go.
I always tell my team that, just fall in love with the process and forget about the results. Because okay, so if you're using the word adaptability that way, I
and I could be using it wrong. I don't know, but there's there's a million other people using it wrong.
I can play in that sandbox. That I agree with.
Okay. Well, one of the quotes, I don't know if you do this a lot or not, but as an entrepreneur, it's like I somehow come up with quotes just from my experiences, and one of them is, discomfort means we're growing. And you mentioned that earlier about if you're comfortable, what's really happening around you. Is that kind of what you were referring to?
Yeah. And wouldn't that be boring?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, like, I don't know. That would be so boring if I just woke up and, Lime Life was $1 billion beauty brand. Like,
yeah.
What? Okay. So I have some money in the bank. Okay. But what, and so curiosity is just something that has also, like, been such a big part of my success, to just have that sense of curiosity as if I was a little kid again, and what could we do? What would this look like?
Yeah.
And just, just again, it's just like surrendering to that and just trusting. And when for me as a visionary, when you see it so clearly, don't ignore that.
That's good advice.
Don't ignore that. That's such powerful insight. So many people are like, oh, I see this, I would love that, but that's not me. That doesn't happen to me.
Right.
That's 1% of the world, or that'll never be me. There's so much abundance out there. And I know for sure that if you can see it, gosh darn it, it is meant for you, and do not give up on it. But it's, it's really, it's got to be important to you. It's got to be, and that's why I think in entrepreneurial life, we talk about our why a lot, and why do you do what you do? People buy why you do it, not what you do. And, all those things. And it's powerful. It really is, because it can't just be a want. That's not strong enough. You can't just want to have a beach house or,
Right.
or want to have a $1 million idea. There's got to be something bigger, because there will be days that take you to your knees. And that bigger why is what's going to get you back up. And just holding on to that vision, and really, really just as if it's already happened. I talk a lot to my team about, it's not about what you say or how you say it. Like, I could give people scripts all day on how to sell a lip gloss, but it's who you're being. It's who you're being is really the most important thing for an entrepreneur. And, I used to use the story of when I was first starting out, I would just walk into a Starbucks as if I had $1 million in the bank. And I had 15,000 people on my team, and the company was, I would walk in that Starbucks like, you need to get out of my way. And heads would turn. And that's energy, right? That's not because, I'm strutting my thing, but it's energy. People feel when somebody is up to big things. It absolutely radiates out of you. And there will be a ripple effect, and people will feel that. So it's almost like dress for the life you want, not the life you have, right? Because fate almost always follows fashion. But it really, there's something to that. And so people will be like, what is she up to? What is she doing? And they just want to be a part of that. They want to, like, that was the thing with my CEO, Michelle, when she was talking about this idea. There's so much passion and so much just soul in it. And it wasn't for greed. It wasn't about her. She really saw that makeup and skincare can be a platform for people to unlock their most inspired future. She really saw that. And that's what I bought into. I don't want to sell makeup.
Right.
I need Mary Kay, for goodness sake. But I love selling makeup, don't get me wrong, but it's the bigger purpose. It's the bigger mission. It's the impact that being able to represent these products allows me to do. So when you're holding on to that vision of, oh yeah, I'm going to impact. And by the way, my brother Michael told me that in his loving way. You're going to impact so many people, and you are going to find your purpose, and you are going to heal the little girl in you through this company.
And here you are today.
I cry. But that's what you need to hold on to, that vision of that, because that's what people are going to just be like, whatever it is you're doing, I'm attaching my string to your kite. Take me with you. So many people don't have hope for a future right now. So if you're somebody out there listening and you have an idea and you see it, please, I beg of you, go after it. The world needs you to. The world needs you to continue to be that hope dealer, and really showing people that there's hope out there. And that's what I really love my company for. Not to bring somebody in to sell makeup and skincare, but I really love that we've created a culture and a community of supportive and uplifting people that are really here to hold a space for you, for whomever. And that's really what I show up for every day. How can we help somebody step into a more inspired future and realize that it doesn't have to be average. It doesn't have to be mediocre. It doesn't have to be status quo. If you're asking those questions, am I happy? Search it, dig, get a shovel, keep digging, because you're not, those questions don't fall on your heart for no reason, and your happiness is a priority. It really is. I mean, I think for a lot of women out there, we're not brought up that way. We're brought up that we're last, and we're nurturers and we need to take care of others and, don't talk. Nobody cares what you have to say, and I'm really passionate about changing that script,
Well, your passion is contagious. It is reflected very, very nicely. And you have a beautiful love story, as you say, and you're very inspiring. And I'm so happy to hear that the childhood you left and the life that you're just beginning at middle of the road is very inspiring to a lot of people. Are you already there or you're getting there?
November of this year.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to see how you change the world in many ways as you're already doing it. And I guarantee that someone on this podcast has heard your story. And that's really what it's all about on the entrepreneurial journey. I basically, from my spiritual life and then also being on the entrepreneurial journey, I have my own mantra that I wrote. And that's every day is an exciting journey with problems to be solved and memories to be made. And that really sums up life. And if we can keep that in perspective, that go for it, do those things that you want to do, go for that little voice in your head. Because as Richard Branson says, every big business started small. I may not be quoting that exactly like he said it, but that is the truth. Every business started small. Yeah. And that's kind of how your life transitioned into this $100+ million company that you're help lead. And just an incredible story. Is there a mantra that you have or some last minute tips for any small business owners? Because less than 10% ever even hit $1 million. That's incredible to me to even think or fathom that so many they just get stuck. And most of it's their mindset, their beliefs, or lack of. And here they give up. And so any last words of encouragement before we exit stage left?
Yes. And anyone on my team knows that this is how I end almost any post typically, or any live or any training or any coaching that I do. Stay the course. And what I mean by that is life is for the living, right? And you got to stay the course. So many people and listen, you're going to get taken off. You're going to get brought to your knees. You're going to get back up and stay that course. That was absolutely placed on my heart by my brother when I was going through the many, many, many pivots to get me where I am today. He just kept saying to me in my moments of quiet and moments of meditation, stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. And that has served me so well. So if anybody out there is feeling a moment of struggle or a moment of, self-doubt, whatever it is, get back up and stay the course.
That is beautiful, beautiful. So how can someone get a hold of you, follow you? How would you prefer them to do that?
Well, I am on all the social media platforms. You can find me on Instagram. My handle is The Real MK Duffy. So it's REAL is how they spell real. I also at therealmkduffy.com. On Facebook, I am Mary K. Duffy -Kemper, Kemper. Also on LinkedIn, not on Twitter as we started.
I'm not either. I deleted my account well before the whole chaos started. So I'm not one of those. It was just rebelling. It was just like, it just wasn't for me. And it's still not for me. I've got other good channels to be on. So
when we become famous, I think it's going to be for us.
When yes, there you go.
Then we'll hop on Twitter.
There you go. So, and for all those that are, what's that?
Sky's the limit.
Yes, absolutely. For all those listening, be sure and connect with Mary Kay. She's been fantastic. Appreciate you again taking the time to do this. And one last thing, because I think accountability is big in entrepreneurship. Yeah. What does shortly, what does the next 5-10 years look like for you? You said life's just beginning. Give us an example of how we can shoot for the moon.
Okay, so for me, I for sure will be doing retreats. I'm really passionate about getting like-minded women together that are soul seeking, that are asking those questions of who am I and where am I going and is this it? Because you're not dead yet. And so I'm really passionate about creating retreats and hopefully moving it into conferences nationwide. It's going to be called MK's Inner Circle.
Cool.
So look out for that. I'm also going to write a book, which will probably become a movie. So see me on the red carpet someday. Give me till 2030 and there'll be a movie about my life.
Very cool. Well, that's
the vision.
Very cool. Well, that gives us something, because I know with entrepreneurs, especially small business owners, we can really get stuck and limited in our beliefs. So that just kind of gives us an idea of like how to really think big. So I appreciate you sharing that. And we will check back with you.
Speak it out loud. Like I want to encourage people to really speak your dreams out loud, even if they scare you. It loses like that power of fear over you. Just say it out loud. Call the elephant out, and you know what? Go for it.
Absolutely.
And then energy can feed your vision too. So.
All right. Well, thank you again so much. And we will catch you in 2030 on the red carpet.
Sounds like a plan.
All righty.
You've been listening to Small Business Pivots. A lot of small business owners are feeling stuck, bogged down, barely making ends meet. But it's Michael's passion to help you change all of it. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and we hope you've gotten some useful advice from it. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on YouTube at Business Ownership Simplified. See you next time on Small Business Pivots.